There's a suit on and there's places to go. My life has been a smorgasbord of disappointment and frustration. And the soundtrack to that smorgasbord has been Geese.
First and foremost, it's smorgasbord. We got to get that.
I thought it's Borg. B-O-R. Isn't it a G at the end?
Pretty sure it's D.
It's smorgasbord. Don't you dare edit this. This is that exclusive premium content that everybody pays $0 for.
All right. Well, smorgasbord
with a D.
Yeah.
Damn it! Everything is going on. And it's like the moment that I thought my frustration could not reach like higher exponential levels. What happens? I come in and I get like auto corrected by you.
Well, I'm just I'm trying to keep it real.
Keep it I know.
Well, but let's redirect that anger to where it belongs, to Geese, the big it band right now. It band. I'm gonna let you cook a little bit because you're ready to go. So how about you just so you listened to the whole thing, or you listened mostly to Getting Killed? What's the
Just because they're the soundtrack to my frustration and disappointment doesn't mean that they are a significant source of frustration and disappointment for me. They're just a really good soundtrack for that. It's not good, but you know what was really interesting about it? Well, this is the hit 'em up episode, because like, first of all, it was like, not only did I listen to that album all the way through, but then like I watched the SNL performances, and because I did that, I had Anthony Fantano like shorts pop up on my YouTube, and I watched his thing about Geese. Surprise, Anthony Fantano is like a huge Geese fanboy. He's like the worst person, dude. He's like right on beneath Trump as far as like the worst people in the world. It's Trump, and then it's like Anthony Fantano. Like, I'm putting him there. You have to come up with number 3. Oh. But he's so terrible, and he's just like his level of content is so asinine. But the thing is it's like I watched this video of the song, the Cocaine song, and I was like, okay, there was another band. This is my hot take. It's not really hot.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
There was this other band. This is really a kind of obscure. It was the Webb Brothers. It was Jimmy Webb's kids. They had kind of like an indie sort of project in the early aughts or something. And there was a song. They had a nepotism thing too, because the Geese guy, because one of the reels that I watched, he's talking about his dad being a sync guy, right? Mm-hmm. So the Geese is linked up, dude. Geese is synced up. The Webb Brothers, they had a song on their album, and it was about like not for all the cocaine in the world or something like that, some title like that. And I remember I had that Webb Brothers album because it was like it was discounted, and I knew some people liked it and whatever. And it was just like, I listened to it, and it's like, it's just not good. But it has like the indie pop trappings that you had in the early aughts.
Are we talking about Geese now?
No, I'm talking about the Webb Brothers.
The Webb Brothers.
So they had this album. It was just a very run-of-the-mill indie album. It had all the trappings that an indie album in the early aughts would have, but the songs just weren't there. Strangely enough, it never got really pushed over the whatever sort of hill you need to get pushed over. So my take on the Geese album, and it was just the having cocaine in the title of a song reminded me about it. It's like Geese is just a band that came out with a sort of like a mediocre indie sort of pop album, regardless of the year. It could be 2001, it could be 2014, it could be 2026. They came out with a very mediocre, uninspired indie pop album. Something happened that just kind of pushed it over that hill. And that's why everybody's sort of talking about it and whatever. But it's not like, some of the controversy is the fact that it's not good. And there's people that have a certain sense of objectivity in their music listening that are really appalled by how like not good it is. But for our intents and purposes, you and me on this show, it's at best mediocre. And we encounter lots of mediocre music, both successful and unsuccessful, all the time. So it doesn't deserve to be like hated as much as like people think that I hate it, because I don't. It's just an insignificant album that's had significance thrust upon it. Rant.
And do you think that part of that has to do with the climate of rock music right now? It's really bereft of any significance or value, in my opinion, for the past like 10 years. So it was also one of those things where it was just perfectly placed, perfectly timed. I don't hate it, or I don't dislike it as much as you do. We differ a little bit, but I'm curious to see if you think that the climate has anything to do with it.
The issue of the climate for rock music has been significant since 9/11, since post-grunge, because the thing that happened, and this is actually a really good sociological analysis. What was really strange about like the grunge thing, because when grunge came, rock music was still dominant. Grunge was just a different form of rock music that was like rawer and more authentic, right? And it came and seemingly cleared the decks of the things that had preceded it. But rock music had been dominant at that time, and rock music was dominant, and rock was really on par with pop and rap and like soul R&B sort of music. Those things were all sort of vying for equal. They were like a pie chart, really. And it fluctuated, but there was a certain equanimity between them. I don't know if I'm saying that word right, whatever. But grunge, strangely enough, after in its passing, it opened up avenues to things that had been killed by grunge itself, namely like the boy band thing. I remember like being stoned with my friends watching the Backstreet Boys on SNL in like 97 or whatever, or 98, I don't know, and being like, how is this happening? Like, this was supposed to be dead. But strangely enough, in the wake of grunge, all that stuff that had been not just like killed, but had been like killed via ridicule, like boy bands and stuff, it all kind of came back. And once all that stuff came back, then the question arose of all that stuff came back, and it started to like kill off its competitors. And that's when the question starts arising in the early aughts of like, is rock music dead? And so that's been a question for the last like 25 years. So that's always an issue of whatever band. It was an issue with the Strokes, and it's an issue with Geese. I'll give you three. It's an issue with the Strokes. It was an issue with Vampire Weekend, and now it's an issue with Geese. Those are all separated by roughly 10 to 13 years, and they're all deteriorating in quality. The Strokes, as not so great as they were better than Vampire Weekend, and Vampire Weekend, as not so great as they are definitely better than Geese.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I got to be honest. Since we're talking about these bands, let's start with the Strokes. Say what you will about that first album.
I like that one.
It's great. Even like my favorite album of theirs is Angles. That one's incredible. Those guys are dope. So I think that what you're pointing to is it has less to do with the music for the Strokes, I think, because the Strokes are good. I'm not a huge fan, but I like what they do. The songs are great, but it was also like New York City with the the sleek hipster thing going on, and everybody loved it, and it was this huge thing. Anytime something gets so much attention, it seems to be overvalued. That's when people like us are going to look at it and go, fuck that. But I mean, the Strokes are great. Vampire Weekend is really boring. I think Geese are better than Vampire Weekend.
That's an interesting topic. I'd have to re-listen. I think I had that first Vampire Weekend album, and I thought at the time that it was okay.
They're good. I mean, they're not the Vampire Weekend's not terrible. They can write some songs. They're just boring. With Geese, what I've realized, I was listening to the album, trying to be as objective as possible, and I realized, especially that first song, I had my headphones on, and the what's it called? There's a bomb in my car or whatever.
Isn't the first song like Trinidad? Yeah,
maybe that's what it's called. I don't know. The production on that song was weird. Like all this really interesting panning and like hard cuts and weird, like it was, I don't know. I was impressed with the production value in that song. It was interesting. It was not necessarily an easily consumable thing. It was a band that was really trying to make something interesting, and I could appreciate that. The entirety of the album isn't necessarily my thing, but it's not made for me. And we're also subject to the grim fact that we've been around long enough. When you've been around long enough to see different iterations of bands, and then the bands after in the next generation sort of like taking from those bands that came before it, we're obviously going to look at it and go, well, this just sounds like this in a different way. It's not new, blah blah blah. But I mean, they're doing something. They're doing something interesting, even though you don't necessarily like the songs. Because I know you're a big, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're really interested in songcraft, like traditional songcraft, like the way you build a song. And what I've noticed with Geese is that a lot of the times it can be meandering, and the song structure isn't necessarily there. The traditional strong song structure is kind of just thrown out the window. But I mean, you know how I am. I'm kind of into that. I like sort of thumbing my nose at the old guard just to spice things up.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying about that. I want to say something about that trifecta. I'm going to concede something to Geese, but I want to say first and foremost about the Strokes. I don't have any Strokes stuff now. The sound of that album, This Is It. It's very sui generis. No one had done what they did on that album. Really, people would compare it to the Velvet Underground, things like that. In a sense, those are antecedents, but the Strokes really broke away from their antecedents, and they created something that was really uniquely their own sound. Vampire Weekend, I don't remember well enough to really comment on that, but Geese, as much as I dislike them, they do create their own sound. But in relation to what your sort of comment is, though, it's true that I'm more inclined to listen to the albums and stuff that have the well-constructed song, whether it's like Brian Wilson or, the Scott Walker stuff that, in the 70s or whatever. But I do really, really like Pavement. Steve Malkmus, his songwriting, in a sense, that kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but it's a seemingly lazy kind of delivery and sloppiness and looseness to it. That's like a precursor to Geese. And so I would say, like, look, and I'm not a big fan of the first Pavement album. I think it has a few good songs, but for me, it doesn't hold my attention all the way through. Whereas all the other ones I'm huge on. I love them all. I just don't like the first one that much.
Yeah.
Geese is 4 albums in, and there's no moment, and I only listen to the most recent album, okay, to be fair. There's no moment on that album where they get close to approximating, because even if Steve Malkmus is the lazy man songwriter, or he's a lazy songwriter or whatever, there's no point and meandering and stuff, because I love Wowie Zowie, and Wowie Zowie has these kind of meandering parts or whatever. There's no point where Geese gets even close to that. Talent-wise, composition-wise, whatever. Like, to me, it's not so much an issue. It's an issue of not being wowed by gimmicks. You're kind of saying sort of like, well, we're older, we've seen the antecedents, we're not wowed by that. I'm kind of saying, no, we're just not wowed by gimmicks. Like, yeah, I can appreciate the production, maybe, but like, I've got like thousands of CDs, dude. I can listen to the production on all these other things.
Well, I mean, I diagnosed your stance today when I was listening to it, and I could be off, but if you listen back to it, what I realized is the weird thing about Geese, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. They sound steeped in that traditional sort of 70s Stones thing, but they're kind of fucking it up and fucking with it, whether it's deliberate or not. You hear the roots of like traditional rock in there, but they're kind of just kind of running roughshod over it and not doing the normal thing, and kind of doing these elongated sort of tracks where the singer is kind of, you know, doing his thing. And I find it interesting, and maybe that's part of it, that maybe it's because they kind of sound like they should be more traditional in your lane, but they're not.
The song that really, I think, is the song that could be a good song on that album is Cobras. It's Cobra or Cobras.
I'm not sure.
It's got a good sensibility to it. It's got all these sorts of things about it that you're like, oh, this could be really good, but they seem to consciously be doing this thing to sort of undermine, you know, the catchiness or whatever. That's the song that strikes me as the most, like I told, like my buddy Sean, he said I referred to it as like a failed good song or something. But that's a song that kind of strikes me as something that could be like a good song, but they kind of like purposefully sabotage it. I like stuff like that. Like I love like Flies on Sherbert by Alex Chilton and stuff like that. Yet out of the mouths of these like pseudo American Apparel sort of model kids, I don't find it compelling at all.
Yeah,
you know?
I understand what you're saying. They're not for me. But I can appreciate it. I was, you know, I'm working at my cafe. I work with, you know, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds who are all listening to that stuff and really into it. And so they'll put it on, and, you know, I'll find myself kind of just doing my work, whatever. And in moments I'll go like, oh, this is kind of cool. But it took a couple of listens to get there. They don't deserve the scorn that they get from the old heads more than they don't deserve the accolades that they're getting. That's my personal opinion. I think it's a perfect storm, all of it. This whole deal about, oh, there's psyop, blah, 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 whatever, man. I think it's
a stupid word that people throw around.
Yeah, well, and it's also like, that's what the music industry is. You take a band and you put money behind it and you use all the tricks to try and get them into the spotlight or whatever, to get people to listen to it, get ears on it. So it's silly to say something like that. It's just kind of mind blowing. I can appreciate it. It doesn't help their cause with regards to what you're talking about, when you consider that they are attractive and young, and they're from New York City, and they do the whole thing. But it's also like, you know, 4 albums in, they're probably, you know, just like anyone else, just trying to figure it out and trying to get heard. And then they were lucky enough to pop in a way that just probably surprised them.
Well, it's like, and the thing is it's like, I would agree they don't deserve the scorn, but I agree for a different reason, because the scorn is part of that explosion. And I would prefer that they just be greeted with indifference, because that's my original point of the whole thing with that Webb Brothers album. Is the Webb Brothers, who knows if they're still making music or if they made any more albums, but the reason they stopped, or the reason it just didn't work, because we all know Jimmy Webb. We're talking about like great songwriters. Jimmy Webb's a great songwriter, right? The reason that it stopped wasn't because like it hit a wave of like scorn. It was a wave of indifference, man. And I would prefer that Geese just get the wave of indifference that they deserve. They don't deserve to be like praised, and they don't deserve to be hated. They deserve to suffer the fate that we suffer, which is people not caring.
Yeah, that's
Right?
fair.
So
I mean,
that's what I would wish on somebody. It's like I don't even wish people hate you. I wish that people just don't even care that this is your fourth album. It's your first album. It could be your 14th album. No one cares, dude. That's the state of rock and roll, man.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
The state of rock and roll. I'll give you your state of rock and roll union address or whatever. The state of rock and roll is nobody cares. That's the state.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll say this. I think that listening to this album and trying to come at it with clean ears is that I learned more about us than I learned about that band, which is this. We, as artists and as musicians, I think need to, and as stupid as it might sound, I want to take their winning as a collective win, because there's room for everybody to do well, man. There's room for it all. We just don't all have the necessary ingredients a lot of the time for that mass consumption, especially when it comes to, look and money, which are the two things on the top of the list, right?
And your dad being the guy that was doing Sync.
And your dad being the guy that was doing, there's always something like that, right? Always, man, always. But remember those bands I sent you? I don't know if it's like an account or a zine.
Oh, I didn't think I even had a chance to open that. But yeah, you were like, yeah,
dude,
sorry.
You should have, because it was just like, these are the next bands that could be the thing. And I swiped through all of them to listen to them. There were like 10 to 15 of them. And all of them were not good. Objectively not good compared to Geese. Like Geese, I was listening to this, I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. I would listen to Geese a million times over any of these bands. And it put it into perspective a little bit. I do think that they are good enough and talented enough to be in a place where they can get some attention. I don't know if it's the attention that they're getting, the amount of attention that they're getting, but I'm glad they got it, because you know what? I would hope that somebody would feel the same if it were to happen to one of us.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not hating them as much as I don't even think I really hate them, but I do. But they are an object of like derision and sort of like mockery for me. But I'm not animated with any sort of like hatred towards them. Like it's not. It's and I don't even really begrudge their success. None of my sort of criticisms have to do with sour grapes, because I don't really think you can. It doesn't even really seem like you can make money playing music. So I kind of, for some reason, don't imagine anyone's making money playing music, even though like there has to be people making money playing music. I kind of imagine that it's sort of not possible, just because I can't imagine myself not working like whatever jobs I had to work just to play music. So I don't begrudge them whatever. My thing is actually just really sort of bewilderment that a lot of people were talking about it and that it was just popping up. Because it's like I did that video where I was talking about there's these bands every day on Instagram, you see a new band every day. And then you go and you look and you're like, oh, they have like 14,000 followers. Wow. Never even heard of them. I'd rather just listen to like good, well-constructed pop songs that are maybe they're a little simple, but I put that Role Model song, that look at that woman, that Role Model song, or Sally, dude, the Geese guys will never be able to top that. That's just good. And it's simple songwriting, but it's like catchy, and it's not doing like all these gimmicks. Like that's the thing about the indie music, is that it's just this, every song is just a sequence of gimmicks, man. And you're like, dude, it gets exhausting.
I got a hot take though. And I apologize. I think
hotter than what I just said.
Oh, it's hot. Ready for it?
Lay it on me.
All right. So any scorn and frustration that you feel from Geese should not be directed at Geese, but to all the people who are fucking glazing them.
Mamma mia!
That's not a hot take.
That's a hot take. What do you mean?
How that's like, man, you caught me off guard. I wanted to get a good metaphor for how like unhot that take.
Oh, hey, look. Well, I mean, if it was so unhot, you would have thought of it.
Dude, I've had like nothing but hot takes. I've been like screaming at you for an hour on the phone, dude. I'm on fire, man.
All right, well, here we go. All right, let me rewind that. I'll give you another hot take. You ready? If you've got an issue with the Geese dude, like the lead singer, because you've mentioned before how you think he's kind of silly with like the gimmick of the voice and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta give him the same leeway that you would give to any other weird ass singer.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Like Tom Waits. Granted, I know he's got a huge catalog where he's earned the right to do whatever, but I mean, we like a lot of singers and a lot of artists who are really difficult to listen to. They're not an easy listen. And that's how I think of this dude. Like, he's got his thing, he's doing it, and I can't be mad at that. If I got to be mad at that, I got to go, rethink how I see these other bands and how that's a bias. It's an unfair bias.
No, I'll sign off on that. I totally agree with.
Was that hot enough for you? Was that spicy enough of a meatball for you, or was that not to your liking? I know you like it hot.
No, I actually don't like it that hot.
All right,
but no, but no. That was perfect. I totally agree with that sentiment. Because it's like, but I do think the only caveat you could have is you could say is if somebody analyzes it and says, is what he's doing vocally, does it serve what's going on with the rest of the song?
Yeah,
I think that's valid. But I do agree that you have to give him that leeway because that's his deal. It's like his deal is he's like sort of like a looted out like lounge singer, right? Like that's sort of how he's singing, right?
Yeah, and his voice is interesting, dude. I like his voice. I think it's interesting. I think he's talented. I've listened to his solo project. He's good, dude. He's good. I don't think the band is bad. I don't think he's bad. I don't think they're a band that I'll really, really get into, but I can appreciate them for what they are. I feel like the way that I view them is the way that you're describing what you want other people to see.
It's just not fun. To me, it's not fun. And I'm not a proponent of fun. The band or fun as a concept or whatever.
If you're not a proponent of fun, then you shouldn't have an issue with it.
but it's like, for me, it really is just like the sort of gimmicks get in the way of having the music sort of be this good companion to your day or whatever.
Do you think that they're trying to be gimmicky? I don't think they're.
Yeah. I'm 100% behind that charge. Like all these bands that I see that are doing these things, it's 100% forced. Whereas the stuff that with like Pavement, I don't think it was ever forced. I know that's a little like I'm a little bit like awestruck and Malcolm is worshiping, but I don't think it was ever forced, dude. Whereas I think that all the gimmicky things that pop up in Geese songs, I think it's all forced. I think almost all the indie bands that you see that have all these different weird changes and all these different things popping up in the song that are just gimmick after gimmick after gimmick, I think it's all forced. I don't know anybody that really is just authentically throwing kind of weird things in there because like that's where their songwriting took them or whatever. I think that there's this forced gimmicky nature to that sort of pop music of the
Yeah.
last few years.
Maybe I disagree. I think that whether or not it comes off as gimmicky, I don't think it starts that way. I think it starts with them just trying to keep themselves interested in what they're doing. To a certain type of ear, it's going to come off that way, and then to a less seasoned ear, it's going to come off as new and fresh. And that's why I say that I just don't think Geese is meant for us. You know, it's meant for younger people. It's meant for for younger people who like to listen to rock and roll in a very specific way. And yeah, man, I think we're just getting old, man.